Hi everybody, it's Mr. Gray here. Thank you again for sending your amazing kids for another really great week at school here. We got a lot done and are making a lot of progress in a lot of areas. Thank you so much for sending in field trip donations. Keep sending them if you haven't yet. $45 and you can make a check out to Santiago Hills Elementary School. Big announcements for next week. On Monday, I talked about it in the last video, but I just got the week wrong. We're gonna do mile run practice. So we'll do that a few times during the year. We're just building our way up to run a whole mile, but we'll do that first thing Monday morning. It might be a little wet on the grass, but we'll be out there on the grass dodging construction and fences and kind of running to get a handle on how we do running for maybe like 6 to 8 minutes and kind of see maybe some kids can almost or run a mile in that time and some students are just on their way. So we're just kind of seeing where we're at to set some goals going forward. Also next week is Red Ribbon Week, so you might hear about that from PTA. There's also a Community Rocks event the PTA is putting on having to do with Halloween. I think that's Thursday, October 26th. And so you might hear from PTA about that as well. Finally, the biggest announcement that's coming up, it was right on the front of the email that I sent. It's that we're gonna have a writing celebration. The kids have been working on personal narratives. So they wrote one and they got some feedback from me and then getting feedback as we go. And then they're gonna write their second one and try to include as much as they can. So we'd love to invite you, the parents, to actually come to school and sit down and celebrate the students' writing. So that's gonna be on Thursday, November 2nd, right at the beginning of school. So on that day, if you can come, there's a little RSVP form on the email. So I'm trying to get a handle on how many parents can go, but basically you check in at the office right as school starts and you can come after that, wait outside my classroom just while we get set up for 10 or 15 minutes. So we'll actually start the celebration at probably 8:25. But if you're dropping off your kids, that gives you some time to check in at the front office and get a visitor sticker and all those things. But then you come, you'll sit down with a group of students, either inside or outside, and you'll hear their personal narratives and get to comment on them, but mostly we're just giving them a chance to really celebrate it. And so they get a real audience to talk to. It's really fun when you get to come and hear not only your own child, but other people's kids kind of give their really fantastic stories. So that'll be really fun. So there's an RSVP in the email and on the updates page, an RSVP form, so I know kind of how many people are coming so I can make groups. But if you can come, we would love to have you. Again, that's gonna be Thursday, November 2nd at right after school starts, so 8:25 in the morning. So make sure to check in the office if you're doing that, but can't wait to see you. In reading next week, we're keeping our focus on theme and making connections from that. So sometimes we're talking about ideas we have about characters, sometimes we're talking about a theme in the story, and we're kind of using this list we have of common themes that come up, and that's what we've been talking about a lot. So they're gonna take a assessment about theme on Monday, and the rest of the week we're going to be reading Tuck Everlasting, which is a fantastic book that we're going to do as a very short novel study. We're going to start on, I think, Tuesday or Wednesday, and we'll be done early the next week. And that work will kind of focus on finding the themes, discussing them, writing about them all next week. I'm continuing our read aloud of The Miraculous Journey of Edward Tulane. The kids are doing some work watching Edward as he changes throughout the story, both physically and emotionally, and also kind of tracking a few big ideas, important characters throughout the story as well. In writing next week, we're gonna just add a couple little things to the end, or to round out our second personal narrative, and then kids are gonna spend the week finishing, editing with a partner, reviewing the rubric, kind of putting the last few elements of polish and presentation on their writing, and then actually publishing, getting ready for that writing celebration on Thursday, November 2nd. In math next week, we're going to continue working on operations and algebraic thinking. The kids will do a quick review and some work on Monday. We'll take a test on Tuesday. On Wednesday, we're going to work on exploring something called Goldbach's conjecture, which has to do with kind of algebraic expressions, and the kids are going to explore that in their own way. And then we'll work on some Continental Mathematics League practice, because there will be a Continental Mathematics League test coming up where everyone's taking the test. That isn't exactly going to go in the grade book. it might go in the grade book, but then kids will have a chance to reflect and improve their grade on that one if they don't like the grade they get on that one. It's just a number out of 6, like how many you get right out of 6. So that's coming up. So we're kind of finishing the unit about operations and algebraic thinking, and then continuing to practice for the CML test coming up. For a couple weeks in social studies, we have been asking ourselves the question, why would King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella sponsor Columbus's voyage to the New World? And so we've looked at both sides of it, trying to figure out what the reasons are, trying to get in the head of the king and queen at that time. And so the kids have come up with really great reasons why that happened based on the documents we looked at. We're done looking at the documents, so now we're going to collect all that evidence and kind of make an argument. So we're going to start planning and putting together an essay where the kids are saying, this is why I think that the king and queen sponsored Columbus based on these documents that I have. So they're going to kind of put their ideas together and plan out an outline next week on Tuesday, and then on Friday they're going to actually start publishing that essay, and then they'll finish publishing it the next week. That'll close out this kind of exploration of Columbus and the king and queen before we talk about other explorers that were going to the New World following Columbus. In science, in addition to always visiting Mrs. DeMarco in Science Lab, next week the kids are going to read about and explore how a team of chemical engineers come up with a new product. So that'll be a really interesting thing to look at. In language, we have our first language test. So early in the week, the kids will get a chance to review with a partner or kind of look at their old work. The work on the test will be very much a reflection of what we studied in class, nothing really new or different. So if they were keeping up with their work, they should do absolutely fine. And then on Friday, they will actually take the test. It will include some spelling. The kids will have to choose which is the correct spelling. They'll have to choose, should I put a colon or a semicolon or a comma in certain areas? They'll have to add commas. And then they will also have to remember some vocabulary that we started, like which words fit together, things like that. So that'll be the language test. That'll be at the end of the week. For leadership next week, the kids are studying John Urschel, who was both an NFL player and a PhD mathematician at the same time. And so I think I said it in the last video, but we never actually got to it last week because Monday was up. But that'll be a really interesting person to talk about, balance in our life and trying new things, which is a really great message for the 5th graders. So that's what we have going on as usual. Lots of things are happening. I'll remind you that we have a student teacher observer, Miss Toledo, in our class a few days a week. So if you haven't heard about her, she's checking in with kids and getting to know them as well. So you can always ask your students, who is Miss Toledo and how's it going? Has she met with you? Anything like that. So that's all we have, only all of those things, but I hope everyone has a really great weekend. I hope to see you on Thursday, November 2nd for our writing celebration. Please RSVP to that, and I'll see you next week. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.